This podcast has been brought to you by GM Moving, part of Greater Sports. We're here to help the people of Greater Manchester get moving and to improve lives through physical activity.
Hello, I'm Eve Holt, Strategic Director at GM Moving, and welcome to our GM Moving podcast. So today I'm joined by Claire Walmsley from Rollers and Strollers in Trafford, by Natalie Ralph, who leads marketing and communications at Diva Creative, and by our own Louise Robbins, who is the walking programme lead at GM Moving. And for today's episode, we're talking about the GM Walking Ambition. This is our ambition to become the world's first walking city region, making walking a part of daily life as we work to get Greater Manchester moving. The GM Way is part of the work being done to help realise this ambition. It's a campaign to inspire and create a long-term walking culture across Greater Manchester by sharing our stories across the city region, encouraging everyone to walk more and to walk more often. Hello and welcome to today's podcast. So thank you for joining me. And can you just have an introduction to yourself and to your role, starting with you, Louise?
Hello, my name is Louise Robbins and I am the Greater Manchester Walking Lead. I work with a range of organisations across Greater Manchester to deliver the walking ambition. And that work is to create the conditions where walking is a normal part of everyday life for everybody across Greater Manchester.
And over to you, Natalie.
So hi, I'm Natalie Ralph and I'm the Account Director at Diva Creative. We're a creative communications agency based up in Sheffield that specialises in behaviour change, particularly around health and active travel. We predominantly work with public sector and charity organisations to help deliver marketing that makes a positive impact and improve lives, and I'm leading on the GM Walking campaign.
Fantastic. And Claire?
Hi, I'm Claire, and I set up a walking group for new parents called Rollers and Strollers. So pre-COVID, we met up once a week in different locations around South Manchester for a stroll with babies in prams or carriers, and then we went for coffee and the all-important cake afterwards for some socialising.
Sounds brilliant. It's just what I need right now. So, Louise, can you give a bit of an overview for listeners of the walking programme ambition for Greater Manchester?
Yes, the walking ambition is part of the broader movement of GM Moving, and that aims to get 75% of the Greater Manchester population moving for at least 30 minutes a week by 2025. So in terms of the walking, the ambition work is to help people to choose to walk more often, and that work is about creating safe and attractive, accessible environments for walking. It's about raising awareness of where to walk, who you can walk with and reasons to walk, and helping people to appreciate the benefits of walking that are very personal to them. So they'll be different for different people. It might be health or fitness or socialising, it might be active travel or the environment. Whatever it is helping people to rediscover the joy of walking.
So it really does fit, doesn't it, with our approach to GM Moving in terms of taking that whole system approach and thinking across, the influences of the environment as well as the influence of our social networks, the organisations, and our place, the place that we connect to and how people connect to each other and connect to place. And as part of that, you're launching a campaign this week. So can you tell us a bit more about that campaign?
Yes, so Greater Manchester Walking has commissioned Diva and Natalie's here from Diva to work with us on the Greater Manchester Way. And this is part of our work to inspire people to walk for whatever reasons are important to them. So it's about encouraging people to change their behaviours to walk more often for journeys to school, for social reasons, for time with the family, to exploring their community. And the campaign, as we'll hear, is about drawing on real people, the experiences of people from across Greater Manchester, and for their stories to provide inspiration to others.
So I love that real person-centred approach there. Again, it's different for different people, isn't it, as to why we move and why we might want to walk. So can you tell us a bit more, Natalie, then? So you've been leading on the campaign for Diva. So what are the aims of the campaign, of the creative aspect of the campaign, and why is this sort of advertising comm so important?
Yeah, I mean, Lou's obviously touched on it briefly there, but when we come into this process, we really knew that the wider ambitions for GM was to make Greater Manchester one of the UK's first walking city regions. And for us, it was about this kind of pioneering spirit that led to the development of the walking campaign in this way. Because for us, our ambition was to create a campaign that really celebrates Greater Manchester and the people and communities that make it up, like you said previously. And we believe that walking is something that can and really does tie everything that is great about Greater Manchester together. It's the culture, the community, the places, and the people. So our campaign really tries to encapsulate those ambitions and really that pioneering spirit. And like Lou said, the heart of the campaign is really about this idea of making people connect with the idea that walking has a lot more to offer. It's not just a means of transport or a form of exercise. It can actually be so much more than that. And we really wanted to give people those clear reasons to walk more. So it was all about giving them reasons which resonate with them on that personal and that local level, but also giving people that clear sense of ownership over the campaign. So really making sure that it's coming from their voice. And that was how we came up with the idea of the Greater Manchester Way in the first instance. So that name itself not only aims to give a sense of place, but this sense of attitude about, we do things differently, we're pioneers, we do things our way. And that there are so many different ways to walk in Greater Manchester. So it's all about asking people to find your way and seeing where it takes you. And for us, that really sums up the aim of the campaign, really. It's about inspiring people to find their way of walking and not just about us telling them how to walk more. And we really think that the best way to do that is by speaking to the people of Greater Manchester to share their walking stories and present those back to the people as the heart of the campaign creative itself. So our walking story case studies that we deliver as part of the campaign creative cover things like well-being, mental health, physical health, active travel, short journeys, and things like the school run as well. So it really covers a breadth of different reasons rather than just asking people to walk for the sake of walking. And a lot of that comes back to the insight that we understood from right at the beginning, that people understood that obviously walking was good for them, but it was seen as a bit of a mundane task. And people know that there are quite a lot of barriers to getting people to walk. It wasn't particularly something that people aspire to do. So from our point of view, our creative really aims to elevate walking from the mundane. So it's about using that poetry to bring the excitement to walking into everyday lives and journeys, about the people they meet, the sights they see, the space they get, to just enjoy walking in a way that they've maybe not done before. And our creative really places the stories right at the heart of where people actually walk. We've got the walking stories on billboards across the region where people are actually walking past. And then this is accompanied by radio and TV adverts that build on this kind of inclusive and collective action of people across Greater Manchester, encouraging people to find their way and see where it takes them. And I think this sort of campaign and comms is really important because, we know that walking is one of the most accessible forms of exercise, and it benefits people in a lot more ways than you'd expect. And I know there's a lot of people out there, especially in the current climate, that have really felt the benefits of walking. And I think it's really important for us to inspire people through those shared experiences. So authenticity, I think, comes back and plays quite a large role. I know in the previous podcast you talked about the Undefeatables campaign, and it was all feeling like people want to see people like them who feel the same way that they do. So for us, using these comms and this kind of social norming approach to show people that there are people like them really benefiting from walking is why this sort of comms is really important. And then using a mixture of kind of mass media and targeted digital media means that we're reaching those people who we need to inspire most, and actually working with a lot of the community groups and the walking groups as well to amplify the campaign. really means that we're targeting people from across the region that we might not necessarily have reached in, you know, the kind of more digital ways that a lot of people tend to go for now. So I think it's really important that we have that balance of real stories, real people to inspire, and making sure that the right people are seeing it really.
I absolutely love the authenticity and that poetry that does come across in the campaign, and the way that it captures the power of people's, you know, stories in very different ways, as you say, that people like to walk and where they walk and why, what their reasons are. For the campaign to exist and to demonstrate that pioneering spirit, we need pioneers, don't we? We need people to share their stories. So Claire, that's where you come in as one of those pioneers. So will you tell us a bit about why walking is important to you and what the benefits it has brought to you?
So I have a little girl, she's now over 1, but we've always liked walking as a family. But when she was born, I did the normal mum thing of trying to find groups locally to go to meet new mums and to, you know, escape the house for a bit. And there wasn't any that were about walking. There was mums fitness groups, and there was baby groups where you go and sit around and maybe play with toys. But there wasn't anything that was walking related. And I absolutely love walking, and I love being outside. And for me, as a new parent, it can be so overwhelming being in your house the whole time with a small person, and getting some fresh air and exercise is just so good for the soul. It's so good for your mood, and it's also a lovely bonding experience for the baby. So going for a walk with a small baby, or even a bigger baby, it's got so many sensory opportunities. You know, my little girl's now over 1, and she still loves going for walks. We look for the ducks, we look at leaves, she likes touching things, and it just lifts my mood every time we go. So Ava was 7 weeks old when I set up Rollers and Strollers, which to some probably seems a bit ambitious with a 7-week-old baby, but it's been so good to do, and it's just helped so many mums and dads and grandparents get out and enjoy the outdoors and to discover all these local places that they didn't know existed before.
We've really seen that, haven't we, over recent weeks, with people talking about how important their walk or daily walk has been for their mental health and their physical health, and the gems of places that I think all of us have discovered on our doorstep that maybe we'd previously overlooked, and that level of sort of mindfulness and paying attention to some of the things we see along the way, and that sort of joy of the journey, which I think this campaign really captures really well. So you've definitely brought about change there, Claire. You're definitely a pioneer and a change maker in helping make this, you know, accessible and a social norm. So what have been the key challenges and opportunities that you've experienced in what tell us a bit more about what you're doing and how you're opening this up to others, and what the challenges and opportunities that you've come across so far.
So I try to reach as many people as I possibly can. So I mainly run my group through Facebook, and I advertise all our walks on there. I put maps up so that people can go and do the walks without us if they want to, because we obviously meet at a certain time. I try and post in local Facebook groups to try and reach more people, word of mouth. A lot of people who come who've known someone that knows someone that's been already, or I know somebody that you know, type of thing. I also try and share my own walking experiences with the people that come to the group. So, you know, I share about the time that my little girl had a massive poo explosion when we were on a walk, and we all laugh about it because, you know, not every walk is a great walk. We try and have a relaxed atmosphere at our group as well, so everyone's welcome. You know, people message me beforehand a little bit worried about coming, but or they don't know where to meet, and I always make a point of going to see new people if I don't recognise their faces. I also try and share good places to walk. Sometimes it's not local, we might be on holiday and I'll say, oh, this is a great place, we went here today, put it on your list. Our challenges have been really trying to find pram-friendly routes with facilities. Now, I know it's slightly different at the moment with COVID, but even pre-COVID, I had to go and do lots of recce's to go and see whether places were suitable with a pram. You know, one time I went somewhere and it had this really rocky slope, which would not have been the best to take 20 prams down. Also, with being a parent, you need things like changing facilities and maybe cafes nearby to stop and get refreshments, and things like good car parking and things like that, or, you know, good accessibility. So that's kind of been our biggest challenge. But I've been building up my routes, and I've got a good list now of where we can go. And people have said how helpful they find having a list of these places, knowing that we've been with Rollers and Strollers, even if they haven't been on that one. They know that they come and ask me, have you been here? Yes, we have. They know that it's a good place to go. And really the highlights for me have been the people that come each week. So we started out with 4. So my first walk was with 4 people, 4 adults and 4 babies, and they were 3 friends of mine who came along. And I think the biggest one we ever had was 35 adults and 37 babies.
Wow.
Which was really quite a turnout, because I never know how many people are going to come each week. So it was a bit of a shock when 37 people turned up, and I had to go and tell the cafe that I'm bringing 37 babies and 35 adults to them in about an hour.
That sounds brilliant. So it's good for the local economy as well then, even if it might be a bit of a challenge at the minute with all our...
Yeah, well, I've got a good relationship with quite a few of the places that we go to often. So now I know that I need to message them to tell them what we're coming. And there's quite a few of them that recognise us and look forward to us coming, and bake specific cakes for us as well.
Fabulous. So I'm thinking about the work we've been doing across Greater Manchester in terms of making places more age friendly, and I love the saying that, you know, somewhere for a brew and the loo, and the same applies, isn't it, really, when you're, you know, a parent with a young child, and those basic needs that you describe there that just make something accessible when there's a poo explosion or otherwise, and, you know, so you can sit down and enjoy a piece of cake and a cup of tea. But how important it is that there's accessible routes and all those things, you know, we take into account if we want to make walking, you know, possible and enjoyable for many people. And the social connections there, so sounds so key, all the work you're doing there to just make it a relaxed, informal and welcoming, so important. So thank you for that. And Louise, so in terms of for you and your role in trying to bring about change here, what have been the key challenges and opportunities that you've come across so far?
Well, Greater Manchester Walking is trying to support people like Claire to encourage others to walk. So we're doing that by developing a range of resources that are available for everybody. And then, you know, encouraging local application of those resources, for example, through people like Claire or local authority leads or community promotion. So one example would be the creation of our Greater Manchester Walking website, gmwalking.co.uk, and that's a hub for information and inspiration and hopefully support. We provide support for people, for those wishing to help others to walk more often. So we've got some information on what is a walking champion and helping people to what sort of things you might need to think about when you're planning a route to take your family or your friends out on a walk informally. At the moment, we're just planning a revamp of our website. We have routes on there, we have groups on there, but actually we're looking at how to make it easier for people to upload routes on there themselves. And as Claire mentioned there, we're changing our search functions to be able to say, is there a cafe near this route, or is it tram or buggy accessible? So we'll be able to make it more flexible in the way you can search for what would be a suitable walk. So we provide some resources, and the campaign is a way to amplify that sort of stuff. It'll be promoting the walking website. It'll be encouraging people to share their photos and their experiences of that walk, and so that people hear about walking from people like them, from people in their own communities. So that's a lot of the sort of public facing work we do. In addition, as Claire also highlighted about the accessibility of places to walk and the state of pavements, whether you're a parent with a double buggy, or you're an older person worried about falling, or you're anybody in between, including people with disabilities, you know, we're working with the local authorities, the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, and our local authority partners, just to work on how do we create more space for walking locally, for that walk to the shops, for the walk to school, for the commute to the local green space if I'm working from home. And you know, the welcomed investment from the government through the emergency funding for creating more space, and from the Greater Manchester Mayor's Challenge Fund for walking and cycling. That's really welcome, and we would be encouraging communities to get involved in telling local authorities where they would like to be able to walk, and what is important to them in their local space to make a walking experience better and safer.
So there's a real job there as well about engaging with those other organisations and I guess leaders within the place who all have a role to play, don't they, in making these spaces, accessible and highlighting the opportunities for people.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, yeah, we're part of a connecting system, working to bring the groups that we work with and the agencies into the sort of system that are leading this work. So the local authorities, the planning, transport people, so there's a connecting set of work that we help with there.
Absolutely. Think about our workplaces, our schools, our anchor institutions, all of these, you're kind of weaving them all together, aren't you? And thinking about how we draw on those different networks. So for you, Natalie, are there any key highlights that you'd want to point to, or any key challenges you've hit in the way in terms of the campaign?
I think some of the challenges, one of the biggest challenges was that we were originally due to launch back in March, about 3 days before we went into lockdown. So that's probably been one of the biggest challenges. But I think actually what that's helped us do is kind of regroup where we are when launching the campaign now, and helping us find some of those people who, throughout lockdown, myself included in this, is like walking has been a bit of a godsend, in that period of time where we could only get out for an hour a day, or, when it started to build up a bit more, actually going out and walking became the thing that I really enjoyed. And we know that there's a lot of people who have felt the same way over the last few months. And I think what this means is that there's a really good opportunity to build on some of these good habits that people have formed during lockdown. And what Louise was talking about there with having all the different groups and building on some of those infrastructure changes, is that we're doing more and more to be able to support people to actually start to maintain the behaviours that they will have started to adopt in the last few months. And the campaign is probably now coming at quite a good time to encourage people to do this in a bit more, walk a bit more, maybe a bit further. And I think that the main challenges is making sure that people don't go back to those bad, not bad habits, but those old habits that they've that we kind of could possibly slip into. So I think those, it does give us a really good opportunity right now to build on those things. And I think one of the greatest things of working throughout this process on this campaign is actually getting to speak to these people who walking has really been a lifesaver for some people. The people who are walking stories themselves, including Claire, who's with us today. It's really helped them connect with people, but to themselves. We've got a guy called John, who is one of our main walking stories, who was really struggling with his mental health and started walking to actually lose weight. But actually, for him, it wasn't just a way of being physically active. It helped his mental health. It then helped him reconnect with people like him, who weren't necessarily normally being seen on campaigns like this. John would class himself as quite a punk, and he started a walking group for people like him, just from his initial experiences of walking a little bit more. So I think that's been one of the most positive things, is actually seeing and meeting these people who walking has had such a positive impact in the bid to inspire other people and actually see what other people have done for their walking experiences to help motivate others to get involved. Because I do think, like Claire was saying, knowing people who have gone through this change into walking more, or people who have experienced those different routes, who know where to go, only works to further encourage people to get more involved. So I think we've got a really good opportunity here to make some real strides in encouraging people to be more walking active across Greater Manchester.
So carrying on with the experience of COVID, for you, Claire, how have you had to adapt sort of your messages and support and offer to encourage people to keep walking during lockdown?
So I've been trying to share bits and pieces of walking experiences with my followers. I've actually been shielding. So for the first part of lockdown, I wasn't able to walk at all. I had to stay in the house. So when that relaxed a little bit, it was just such a mood lifter. And I tried to share that with my followers as well, just to show them that how important just getting out of the house is. And I know that a lot of parents have been very anxious, particularly if they've had babies during lockdown or just before lockdown. It's so overwhelming, and the thought of going outside with a small person, they need so much stuff, or you think they need so much stuff. It can be quite too overwhelming sometimes when you choose not to do it. So I've been trying to share with people that they're just going even for a 10-minute walk locally around some little green space is enough to start with. It's small steps. It doesn't have to be a huge hike up some massive mountain. You can just go for a walk around your local streets, and that's a good starting point to get outside, really. So yeah, we've just been trying to encourage people to keep walking safely and trying to share with them some of the places that we've been to, and I've been writing up little, not so much reviews, but kind of this is where we've explained some of the places that we've been, some bigger posts, so people can see and make decisions about whether it's a place they want to go to with their family.
Gosh, it must have been really hard for you, someone who's been so key to other people getting out and being active, to then yourself be shielding and unable to go out for that period of time. And so I'm just thinking again about all your inspiration that you provided to others, and just how often I've been inspired myself, just some posts from friends and peers really on Facebook who've shared their walks, and even just this last weekend I ended up going for a bike ride with one of my sons to go and explore a park in Bury that I didn't even know existed, having seen a photograph the day before on Facebook that someone had posted and thought, gosh, where's that looks stunning. And that was it became the destination for our adventures the following day. But it's so important, isn't it, that constant just little nudges and examples of the places that we could go to, and as you say, those small steps. It doesn't need to be hiking up a mountain, the little things on our doorsteps, and that encouragement to go out and get your active souls on in whatever form they are, and enjoy a walk. So Natalie or Louise, Louise, coming to you in terms of you were obviously all set for the campaign in March, as Natalie's described, and then quick change of direction. So how have you had to adapt in your work over the last few months?
Well, I think first of all, we've changed our messages and our approaches to move a lot more things online and accelerate providing information in different ways. So some of that has been, calling for people's inspiration about roaming from home and walking near them over the COVID period. So things like sharing the stories and at Greater Manchester, at GM Walks, Facebook and Twitter feed have been sources of that, and hopefully rollers and strollers and other people can connect and build on their examples, just to amplify the messages. So that's been something that has definitely happened. But as we emerge from sort of a stricter lockdown, many sort of walking groups are beginning to start to get up and out and about again, but of course with new ways of working with to comply with COVID-19 guidance and maintain social distance. So as groups begin to set up, there are things like being able to needing to book on in advance so that people know how many people are there, or having online registration forms, or meeting in larger open spaces, bringing your hand sanitizer, advice on washing your hands before and after a walk, bringing your own food and drink, things that may have been different to how a group may have previously operated, but that doesn't mean that they can't happen. They're just sort of slightly different. So that'd be some things that are happening in terms of organised groups. But our message is really this informal, enjoying walks in your own way, in your own time. So the self-led walks, getting to know your own area, the joy of discovering new path in your own place. We may well have all observed that families walking together has been key, or more prevalent, just because initially that was they were the only people you could go outside with, the people in your household. So actually it's forced a set of changes that hopefully we can build on and take advantage of, to just help people to think of walking in a different way. So we're working in our future around, how do we simplify the sharing of information about routes? How do we simplify people accessing apps or being motivated to walk by other people's online presence? So one of the things we're doing is planning a virtual walking festival for October, and we're just currently in the early stages of design and planning that, and it is hoped that people will join in, whether it's for an active commute type walk or a leisure walk or a group walk or a fitness or just to get out the house time walk or a discovery walk of your local area or a new park somewhere else. People can get involved in whatever way matters to them.
So a shout out for the walking festival in October then. Get involved. Definite call to action there.
Yeah, and more information will be coming on the Greater Manchester Walking website coming soon.
Fantastic. So any tips from any of you on, you know, other people or other groups who are looking to get involved and getting into organising, you know, walks in their local area and supporting others?
I think it's just going for it, really. I mean, if you want to go and get people together to go for a walk, it doesn't need to become a massive thing. I know Rollers and Strollers has grown from this very small thing to something huge, but you don't have to invite, you know, the whole world to your walk. It could just be you and some friends going to explore a new area, you know, just actually getting on with it, really. And if it doesn't work, if you find out the place that you've gone, you know, you have to come back a different way. I remember once going for a walk, just me and my little girl, and I was following a map, but obviously went wrong somewhere and then ended up getting stuck and having to carry the pram up a hill. You know, these things happen, and you've just got to kind of go, oh well, we won't go there again. You know, it's not about it being perfect. It's like, you know, you've all been saying about discovery walks and, you know, finding things out. It doesn't need to be this perfect little planned walk that's on Pinterest. It's just, you know, you're just going out and having fun.
I'd echo that, Claire. You know, we're encouraging that message by providing sort of workshops that we're calling informal walking workshops. So how to help other people to walk informally, and that just means, as Claire said, you're just encouraging a group of friends to go out, say, hey, do you want to come for a walk with me tomorrow or this afternoon or this evening, and just going. And it doesn't matter that you don't exactly know where you're going, but just do it and then see how you're working. So we're providing some support for people to encourage people, give them the confidence to get that message that it doesn't have to be fully risk assessed, fully organised, arranged. We can just do it, and you know, walking is natural, and you know, we're trying to encourage people to do that more from where they live.
I think that's the beauty of walking, really. You know, you don't need all the gear for it. You know, if you want to, you can. You know, if you want to join a walking group and go on big hikes, that's great. But realistically, you know, the walking starts when you step out of your front door, and there's so many different ways that you can find the right way for you, and you don't need to be an expert. And I think that's one of the biggest messages, is like, you don't have to worry about trying to do it properly. There's no proper way of walking. You do it your way. And whether that's you want to find people in a group or you want to do it solo, you know, it's about giving people the opportunity to find the way to do that for them. And you know, that's what's great about the GM walking website. It gives you that bits of, you know, hints and tips, but really it's like Claire said, just you get out and just give it a go and find what works for you.
So get out, give it a go, find out what works for you, and do it the GM way, whatever way that looks like for you. So what's in all of this are then the priorities going forward, as we're really thinking about, aren't we, how we build back better now, as we emerge out of sort of COVID, or living with COVID, and what that means for all of us to be able to live more active lives and have thriving communities, and to make, you know, simple things like going out for a walk just accessible for absolutely everybody. So any priorities, open to any of you really, any priorities for you in terms of how we do that and what we need to do next?
I think for me, you know, we're supporting the government's new campaign, Better Lives, to reduce the obesity levels across Britain, and you know, we're fully supportive that it isn't about walking isn't about weight loss, but walking can encourage support a healthy weight if that's part of what you do. You know, exercise is good for you in lots of ways, much more than just managing your weight. It's mental health, it's social, it's discovery, it's connecting people. But actually, there's a support there, and as you say about building back better, it's about creating the opportunities for people to feel safer and able to walk in better environments for walking, so flatter surfaces, better crossing points for busy roads, improved visibility, slower traffic speeds. They're all the types of work that are really important. And then the beauty of the campaign and the Greater Manchester Way is trying to make it the messaging appealing to everybody, wherever they live or whatever their circumstances. So trying to make it a normal part of your life, whether you're in North Manchester, Oldham, Wigan or Stockport. They'll be different for different people across the age groups, across Greater Manchester, but actually there's something for everybody. And hopefully our walking champions work encouraging people to advocate for the joy of walking and for the benefits of walking, and we're all doing that in our own way. Claire leading by example, Natalie with the campaign, and us at GM Walking by putting some resources out there. Hopefully that support can encourage us to inspire each other close to home.
Yeah, I think for me, when Rollers and Strollers starts up again, I mean, obviously I'm still shielding at the moment, and we're going to make sure that it's safe for Rollers and Strollers to start up. But, I understand that a lot of parents are going to be affected, particularly by COVID-19 and maybe having a baby in lockdown or having one just before lockdown. And, it is harder to get out and harder to have that support network. So, I'd hope that I can help relieve the anxiety around going for a walk with a small baby. I know sometimes it can feel like a huge thing, so I want to give people the confidence to get out and make those small steps and get a little bit more active, but in their own way. So that's what I'm hoping to move on to.
Are there any final things you want to highlight, any final calls to action for our listeners?
I think from the campaign point of view, we're starting off with, a select group of people who have been really wonderful to share their stories with us, to share with everyone across Greater Manchester. But if there's other people out there who think that their stories, are worth telling, there'll be plenty of people out there that walking will have benefited them in far more ways than we can probably think of. So it's if anybody else, wants to share their stories with them, we're still looking for, people throughout the campaign. So to make sure that they're getting in touch on social media at GM Walks, sharing pictures of their walk, sharing their routes, and just giving any inspiration that they want to help inspire other people. This is a continued campaign and continued movement, so hopefully we can keep inspiring people as the campaign goes on over the next few months and into the next year.
Thanks, Natalie.
So that would be follow us on at GM Walks on Twitter and Facebook. Visit the Greater Manchester Walking website where there's information on walks, on routes, on groups, on being a walking champion, on some of the support we offer. And as I say, the website will be developed over the coming weeks to make some of that easier. We'd love to hear what people want from a walking website for Greater Manchester. But also, we send out monthly newsletters, so you can subscribe to our newsletter on the website. And it's about just sharing the joy of walking so that other people can be inspired, whatever that is, whether that's those first small steps or joining a group, or the buzz you get from a walk and chat with a friend and a catch up, or just time out away from the family, whatever it may be. It's great your story will probably resonate with someone else's, so it's about hearing that range and diversity of reasons to walk.
Yeah, and for me it's just getting people to realize that walking is, you do it in your way. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. It's especially for new parents, getting out of the house and going for even a short 10-minute walk with your little one will do you both the absolute world of good. So it's worth doing.
I'm sure there's been lots of inspiration there for listeners. So thank you to all three of you for joining me and sharing those stories and tips. And I look forward to seeing your next few pictures of where you've been walking and what you've been up to next. So take care and speak to you again soon. Thank you to our guests, Claire, Natalie and Louise. I hope you're feeling inspired to walk, stroll or roll in whatever way works for you. Do have a look at the gmwalking.co.uk website for more information, and follow us at GM Walks on social media channels, and use the hashtag the GM Way to share your own walking stories.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, why not share it or tell a friend about it? And if you've got feedback or ideas for future episodes, please get in touch with our team at Greater Sport using the links that you'll find on our podcast page.